Yes, hello. This is David Shakun, founder of WisdomNet. My first time doing a Facebook Live video. Let's just get myself oriented. Hey, I'm psyched to be here. I love the notion of live sharing, communication, and actually, the original vision for WisdomNet for me had that built in. Live connection, which was already emerging on the internet. So I saw that, and I was like, wow, what a possibility for helping each other to grow, to applying that live interaction towards an understanding of life and the universe that I've been exposed to that had been very helpful to me. And I just imagined, wow, we could actually be sharing with each other from this place. And so it's a lot of fun to be sharing live, and we'll see who joins and who doesn't, and it's all kind of fun to play with. Yeah, maybe I'll just move around my screen a bit to adjust. Yeah, so WisdomNet, that's my intention, is to talk. What is WisdomNet? What is wisdom? So much to talk about. But ultimately, I want to say a key part of it's just one person's, I think, is that me viewing or somebody else? We'll find out. Anyway, the key part of WisdomNet actually is about dialogue. It's about a conversation. So ultimately, that's what I'm really interested in, is the dialogue. And so I invite, in that spirit, on Wisdom, on this live broadcast, I invite you to respond, to dialogue with me, using the tools that are available on Facebook Live, and which I understand are, more text-based chat, comments, etc. So please do that. It'd be fun to see you guys. And ultimately, I'll be sharing about a live interactive tool that's on WisdomNet, called, of course, WisdomNet Live. But I want to kind of build up some sharing first, and also build up a few people. Oh, I see. It tells me that somebody joined. That's cool. Eliza, welcome. Awesome. This is quite fun. So yeah, WisdomNet. So the net part, I think we just covered pretty well. That's the interconnectedness of all of us as manifest, both just the fact of it as well as through the technology we now have. So the wisdom part, that's based on a teaching and understanding of the human experience that came out of Canada in the 70s. A man named Sydney Banks had a profound personal realization, and was able to share that in a very simple, direct way. I think highly effectively over the years, and touched me. So he called what he put into words about his experience 3 principles. And what's very exciting right now is that the 3 principles are spreading, really, I think, exponentially because of social media, particularly, but particularly on Facebook. And it's just amazing, especially for someone like me who first came in contact with the principles, I think, around 1994. And hardly anybody knew about it. I mean, actually, for I mean, I've seen a classic exponential growth curve with a very slow growth over like years and years. I couldn't believe it. Like nobody knew about the principles I talked to. So I did my best over the years to share, but probably, I'm guessing maybe 2010, somehow it caught fire in the UK. And then with Facebook, it just really has taken off. So I say that by way of pointing you immediately to tons of resources teaching about the principles. Of course, you can Google them. I would put in the principles and Sydney Banks. And by the way, this information, a lot of it, the basics, is on the WisdomNet site, wisdomnet.com. And just click on philosophy, which, by the way, I mean an experiential philosophy. That's the difference here. It ain't just, otherwise it's just intellectual. It's not doesn't really not effective. So to actually change our experience. So those details, are some of the details and links to resources around the underlying philosophy, experiential philosophy, which are the three principles of Sydney Banks. There's some of that on that page, and so I encourage you. There's some great resources that could do wonderful introductions to the principles. And I'll give it a shot now. Yeah, and just I encourage you to just sort of listen in a relaxed way, because it's really about conveying a realization or an insight, as we call it, and non-intellectual. In fact, the intellect tends to get in the way. So a good way to listen is like you're listening to music, just real relaxed, nothing to get, and yeah. So and one thing I'll keep trying to tie this back into WisdomNet and what WisdomNet's doing with this. WisdomNet is the idea is as soon as a person catches some sense of how we create our experience as humans, and then how we access wisdom, but of course we'll talk a lot about all that, then they have something to share, to give to others, to actually pass it on, so to speak, and that becomes a network. That's a mutual network of teaching and learning, which just can have tremendous synergy and exponential growth. So, principles. One aspect, one entry that many people have found really powerful is to see where our experience comes from. And we talk about, in the principles, we talk about thought. And I want to say up front what we mean by that, or I say we, I'm using kind of the collective. Everybody has their own versions. Maybe I should say what I mean by it. Which does feel in alignment with what is generally taught. But what I mean is, my thought is, of course, the conscious thought, the familiar thought that we experience in life. The stuff that's on our mind level, very superficial, kind of, what should I do next, or or it could also be deeper. It could be kind of like, wow, inspirations. But also I'm talking about unconscious thought we're not so conscious of, and also even perception, how we actually, our senses, which I know may appear, I think that's our experience, that they appear like we're just taking in information, like a camera, right, or a microphone. It turns out that that's also thought. I mean, I'm talking from the point of view of current, not even current, but actually science has been around a long time, about the basically science of perception, and that we really construct our experience. We do receive data, this is a scientific view that we receive data. When it comes to light, it's visual sense. It's photons, right? Which, by the way, they're hardly anything. It's just energy. It's just packets of light, which are, you might just say just a wave, and you could say they're a particle. That's a little deeper than I want to go right now. But it's just kind of nothing. It's almost nothing. It's like just information. So frankly, data. Then we construct out of that. We construct a visual representation of that data, which makes sense to us, and but it's constructive. We actually experience that. Okay, computer screen. You're looking at me, I presume, unless you're listening to me. If I ended up posting it someplace as an audio file. But if you're looking at a computer screen, you're just getting these photons coming into your eyeballs, and then but you're putting together that there's a solid thing there, face, and you're imagining that, well, that's a solid something out there, or a door, or anyway, but just not kind of try to keep this kind of at a high level, and just take this in. I may talk science, but really not to engage your rational mind. It's more just, I don't know, because that's what's occurring to me as a way to talk about it. So the teaching is called the principle of thought, is that when we understand thought to be all of that, conscious, unconscious, all our sensory experience, that everything we experience actually is thought, or we say comes via thought, different language we can put it, but that's what we're actually experiencing is thought. Our thought, I would say. And you'll see that the words point to a truth. There's a key piece. The words can't capture truth. We're looking for truth here. What's the truth? The truth is an awesome thing to be in touch with. The truth sets you free, right? It does. People talk about that, and it's powerful. It's wonderful. I mean, it really is. So we're just doing our best to get close to truth through using words right now. What I want to say is we communicate it other ways too. Just the smile of the baby. Nature. I mean, touch. That's the way I see it. That there's truth can come in through any experience, and so hopefully, ideally, I'm transmitting some truth through my nonverbal, just my presence. Since I am using words, thank you for the thumbs up. My first thumbs up from my relative Clifford out in California. Appreciate that. Who, by the way, I want to give some credit, some shout out for encouraging me to do live video. First, one of the earlier people to suggest I do live video, in that case on Snapchat. So, Clifford, thank you. There's definitely. Oh, and Frank. All right, thanks. Thanks, Frank. Awesome. This is fun. So, actually, I realize this is a great way to be in touch with people I haven't been in touch with for a while. So, which, that's, I think it's just incredible that we have this capacity now to connect. And that is, again, one of the inspiring visions for me of WisdomNet was this, which was 2008, by the way, when I launched it. Definitely, I've been on a kind of that classic slow part of the J curve, but I'm ready, to things to move. Yeah, so thought is what we experience, and what I was coming to, I would say our thought. In some ways, you could say it's not our thought. It's just thoughts our thought we picked up, and maybe it just comes through us. But in some ways, it's like the key distinction is that what we're experiencing is thought, not circumstance, not something out there, quote, solid, that's directly creating our experience. It's not possible. We cannot have a direct experience except via our thought and consciousness and mind. We'll get to that too, a little bit further. But just once again, see, I've struggled often trying to grasp these concepts intellectually. So don't bother. It makes it harder. Just trying to get, just to realize that, you can realize that you probably have seen it to different degrees in your experience. Just get a whiff of God, I was seeing a certain situation one way, and then all of a sudden it shifted for me. Often that happens when we're upset about a situation. This is so common. Something happens, we get upset, and that's the experience of upset, and we're thinking, boy, this is an upsetting situation, and then eventually, very often, we just have a shift in how we see it. Maybe we just had a good night's sleep, something happened, we took a break from it, and all of a sudden we go, geez, I can see I see it more clearly now. That was me just kind of going off on thinking about the situation, what it meant, and just upsetting myself. And that's so every day. That really happens to us every day, all the time. Every time we lose our center, so to speak, or get a little upset and then come back, that's what happens. We just shifted out of that thought-created reality. Pause for a little water here. So, just see if this strikes a chord at all. It's incredibly good news. A lot of us have been taught that we have to do something to shift our perspective. Some of this, I think like any truth is expressed in many forms, and we all have some piece of the truth. So, one piece of the truth, I think, has been this kind of cognitive psychology. It's actually a lot of self-help. Well, just think differently, or, reframe how you think about it, or even think positively. And if we realize that our experience comes through thinking, and we begin to notice how it shifts, one thing we can notice is that there's a tendency on its own for our experience to shift back towards calm, towards less thinking, for us to calm down. If we don't do anything, we don't need to do anything. In fact, the less we muck around trying to think about something, the faster we tend to just sort of calm down in our thinking and in our feelings. So I want to say another way of saying that thought creates our experience is to say thought creates our feelings. So, and there's all kinds of feelings. There's emotional feelings, there's physical feelings, and for what's accessible for most people very directly is the emotional feelings. But I really mean all of them when I say feeling. But for now, let's say emotional feelings, and because that, I think that most people can recognize. Check it out for yourself. That when you have a feeling, let's say kind of an upset feeling, particularly, I think it's clearest there. But you're thinking something. Not all the time. I realize a lot of people, we can just have a feeling that seems to come from nowhere. We're not thinking anything, and all of a sudden we're feeling scared or mad, and there's a lot of possible sources, but essentially it's thought. If it's, there's a lot of nuances here. That's why, you know, all this takes time to really cultivate a sense of it, you know, because sometimes I think we can, let's say fear, you know, one of the clear things that fear is designed to give us a physiological information about actual real thing that we need to respond to, and it prepares the body in the moment, you know. It's very rare, and it has a different feeling. And in fact, if any of you have ever been in a real emergency, so to speak, it's a different kind of sense. You may notice. You may have the normal fear, anxiety, but also probably in there's some kind of a clarity of that. This is what I got to do next, and it's just like a lot of energy. So I just want to be clear. When I'm using the word fear, I'm going to be referring to the more mind-created or thought, not direct wisdom. This is the other term I want to introduce, which is kind of a direct information. Wisdom is the direct information, knowing that we get all the time, particularly experience as just a sense of what to do next, or peace, or calm, and or love. I mean, like these are in some ways different words for the same state. I've chosen the word wisdom. It means, I just love it. It works well for me because, well, and the way I use wisdom, it is different than probably what a lot of people. Boy, looks like my connection is not great. Well, I'll have to work on the Wi-Fi for next time. This is a great first start. So Cindy Banks used the word wisdom. This is what I sense he meant too. So wisdom is a knowing. It's how to proceed in life. And it can be as simple as just knowing when to get out of bed. You're kind of lying there. It's like the simplest thing. Should I get up? Shouldn't I? Your mind is kind of like going, should I get up? Or, at least my mind does that sometimes. And if I just kind of forget about that, all of a sudden I'm like, hey, time to get up. Boom. It just comes. You know, a lot of traditions, spiritual traditions, talk about this. It's just like, you know it. And then if it's integrated and real, then there's action. It's kind of like, you know, very zen. Just boom. And it comes, the less kind of we're stirred up mentally, then the clarity comes, and this is the whole Zen thing, of course. Like again, you know, like I was saying. So that's what I mean by wisdom. And I think they call it prajna in the Buddhist, perhaps the Zen tradition. Lots of terms for the same thing. Now, one really cool thing about wisdom is that it's not dependent on us. We don't need to do it. In fact, the less we do, the better. Yeah, and we try, because then there's less of us to get in the way of something which really is built in to us and built into the universe. And that's actually the principle of what they call mind, which is my term for it. It's the evolutionary intelligence of the universe. It's what evolves the galaxy. It's the Big Bang, the evolution of the cosmos, the evolution of life. I mean, we don't beat our own hearts, you know. We have to do that. It happens for us. So so that's the true source of wisdom. It's something that happens through us. So I feel like this is a pretty good introduction, a good sharing, a good test for me of the system. In the future, I'm looking forward to talking about WisdomNet Live. Just a live connection like this, I have built in or connected on WisdomNet. So, but it will be a multi-way conversation. Meanwhile, welcome everybody to come visit the website, WisdomNet.com. WisdomNet.com, explore, check out the schedule. There is a schedule for the WisdomNet Live conversations where I'll be there. You're welcome to join anytime during the scheduled time, and I'll be talking about the principles behind WisdomNet, as well as what I call wisdom sessions, which are simple dialogue formats to help bring out the wisdom in each other. That's the essence of WisdomNet. So this is pretty fun, and I think it's going to be even more fun when we're all together sharing like this, because we all can. Live streaming, I like that. It's like wisdom streaming. Just let it come through, and it's available to all of us. And once we do that together, like in a group, like in WisdomNet or anywhere, it's a creative process that it's exciting. So thanks so much, you guys, for joining. Big honor to Facebook for creating this live, and all the inspired technological visionaries who make this possible on that level. And a huge, of course, I've been honoring all the teachers, going back to Sydney Banks, and all the teachers since who have been teaching these principles, have touched me. All right, much love. And I'd love you to be in contact, give me feedback about this live session, as well as anything you see on WisdomNet. Any questions? Take care.